Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah, this is Aman with the Muslim Sales Guys. And over the past year, we've been able to collect a million plus for Muslim business owners, 700,000 of which has come in the last 6 months. Alhamdulillah. I just want to go over some basic mental and sales frameworks that we've used inside the company and inside the other businesses that we're helping to achieve this result, right? And this is coming from over 2 years of experience plus 1,000 plus calls that we slowly, built up these mental frameworks and these different check boxes that I'm going to walk you through so we can get the results that we're getting now. Alhamdulillah. First and foremost, let me just share with you some proof, as everybody on the internet just claiming things nowadays. And, alhamdulillah, this is not everything that we've done, but it is some of the results that we've gotten our clients, right? So as you can see, 100K here, 50K here, closing at around 84% this month on one offer, 85% on another offer, 500,000 pounds in the past few months with this one offer that we're helping, alhamdulillah. And that's just to show you that I have we have a track record and we kind of know what we're speaking about. But what I want to highlight here are things that you can actually take and apply immediately into your business to help with your closing rate and to also help with your sales or your sales reps, whoever that you may have doing the sales process, inshallah. So the first thing is making sure that we're going into the call mentally prepared, right? And having the right mental framework so that we can optimize the time we're spending with all the clients that we are speaking with. One thing that a lot of people do is they do so much work, they put so much work into the marketing side of things, and they forget to really prepare for the conversation or the sales call or the sales process they might have with the client that's interested. And then you end up wasting a potential buyer or a potential lead in the future because you're not going in with the right intentions. No? So the first thing that I like to highlight here is sales is a transfer of trust. No? And understanding this and taking your time to warm the other person up is a natural and crucial part of the process, right? We have to realize that we're dealing with people's hard earned money and we have an amana, we have a trust that we have to fulfill. So when you keep that in mind, you're going to be sensitive. You're going to understand that you have to answer some questions that might be repetitive, right? You have to really see if what you're offering is going to be beneficial for the person you're speaking with. So that's the first thing that I like to highlight. And just with this point right here, it could already help increase your closing rate, inshallah. But then the next thing is, what we employ inside the business is extreme honesty. And what I like to highlight here is always be honest about your product or service, even if there's a weakness or a problem. Um, and this is going to do two things. One is going to give you the confidence and the comfortability needed to make the prospect trust you, right? And that goes back to the first thing, which is sales is a transfer of trust. So it's going to give you that special sauce, so they're going to trust you because they understand that you're speaking about problems of your product, and if they are looking for XYZ, then they should look elsewhere. You know? Then the other thing it's going to do is it's going to ultimately lead to more sales because they trust you, and it's going to allow you to have a clear conscience, which is very important, especially if you're trying to do things in the halal way. You're trying to make sure that you are doing right with the mizan, with the scale. So you want to make sure that you're just being extreme honest and you have no area of doubt when you're going through the sales process, right? Now, the third step is making sure that you're only selling to people that you're sure. Sure is the key word here. That you're sure you can help. Let me bold in that, underline it, right? That you're sure you can help because this again removes the pressure of pushing your ideas onto someone that it won't benefit, and it gives you the conviction, the right, and the responsibility to push your services to those who genuinely need it and it would generally benefit, right? So it's just like if when you go in with these frameworks, this makes the job so much easier, so much more enjoyable because you're not trying to force an idea onto someone that it wouldn't be beneficial to. And then when it is beneficial to someone, forcing it onto them is actually your responsibility. For example, if you know that someone has cancer and you have the cure, then it's your responsibility to convince them or to do as much as you can to get them to get your product because it's going to actually solve their problem and help them in this life and the hereafter as well, which goes back to making sure you have making sure you have an offer that is beneficial, right? Now, the fourth thing that I want to highlight is You want to make sure you're going in with the intention of having a genuine conversation and trying to really understand who you're speaking to. The fifth thing is only selling something you completely believe in. This is important and will help you with your conviction again. And then make sure that your list is halal, because selling something that you don't believe in is going to, you're going to actually start lying in certain scenarios, or you could fall into lying, and you could be in that gray area. So you want to make sure that you're doing something that you really believe in and something that you actually understand as well, because it goes back to the first point. It's a transfer of trust. And I've seen people who don't have any sales skills, but they really believe in a certain shoe or a phone, and they just naturally are able to convince others to try it out because of how much conviction they have. So if you can couple your conviction and your experience with an actual sales, the skeleton in these frameworks, that's when you're going to get to those points where you're closing at 65, 75, 85% per month, inshallah. Now, the sixth and last point that I want to make about the actual mental frameworks is always addressing any red flags or inconsistencies with the person you're speaking with. This is something that took me a long time to actually, get used to doing. And I'm going to give you a few tips and tricks on how to do this, right? But the importance of doing this is, if you don't address these red flags, when you go into trying to get them to buy, 9 times out of 10, one of those red flags you did not address is going to come back and bite you, right? It may even be after the person buys, then they ask for a refund, right? So you want to address every single issue or every single thing that you might feel a little bit uncomfortable with. For example, if they're driving in a car and they seem a little bit distracted, you can say something like, Akhi, you seem a little distracted right now. Is everything okay? Right? And then when you ask it, you might, smile or chuckle a little bit, and that's going to allow you to diffuse the situation as well. So is everything okay? Akhi? Yeah, it seems like you're a little distracted, right? You ask it like that. Or you may say like, okay, so you're saying you want to do this, but I still feel like you're a little bit hesitant. I still feel like you're a little bit hesitant. Like, are you sure this makes sense for you to start right now? Right now, you're pushing away, and then he has to pull back, right? He's gonna be pushing back or coming back towards you, unless it really is a problem. And if it really is a problem, then you're able to address it and see if it makes sense for him to get started as well, inshallah. So those are the basic mental frameworks that I wanted to highlight. Then from there, we have the sales framework, and this took us a lot of trial and error to come up with this. What I would recommend is taking this as a framework, like we label it, and then adding or removing or reorganizing depending on what you're selling. Maybe it be a product or a service, or I don't know, or consultant, whatever it might be, and adding your own 2 cents into the actual framework, inshallah. But the first thing we have is the introduction, and this is when you initially meet someone, or they get on the call with you. Then you want to have a basic introduction, and you want to break the ice, get some smiles, some laughs. It's going to make the conversation become comfortable, inshallah, which is, again, goes back to that first point of it being a transfer of trust, right? And for someone to trust you, they have to have a certain level of comfortability. Now, and for someone to actually address the problems they have to have a certain level of comfortability. So you're starting the call off trying to set that precedence of having that comfortability, inshallah. And then what I actually have here is you can check that off. Once you complete that introduction, you can actually check it off and then go to the next thing. So the next step in the process is setting the expectation slash teaching them how to think, right? So this is going to allow you to set the frame of the call, and it allows you to set the stage of what's going to happen and what you expect for them to react. An example of this would be, okay, Akhi, so the way we normally have these calls is I'm going to ask you a few questions to see what the problems are, why you're actually interested, and see if we can actually help you, right? And for me, I have a few criteria that I'm looking for, because we're quite picky with who we help, because we have an amana, right? We have a trust that we have to deliver on. So if we accept you, then we want to feel comfortable we can actually help you. So for me, I want to make sure that you have the right intentions behind trying to solve XYZ problem, or behind trying to buy XYZ thing. I also want to make sure you have the time and the money, or you have the money and the bandwidth, or whatever it is, or you have the right business acumen, so that this could be beneficial for you. And then I also want to see if I think you would work well with our team, because again, we're going to be dedicating hours and up to 6 months of one-on-one education so you can reach the goal that you have. So it's very important for us to do that with people that we know we would work well with. Does that make sense? Right. So now you're setting the expectation. You're teaching them how to think. They understand that they actually have to prove themselves to you. And again, you're letting them know that you don't accept everyone, and you're not going to accept them if they're not a good fit. So it again goes back to that first and most important point, which is setting that precedence for them to actually trust you, inshallah. Right. Now, after you check that off, then the next thing you go into is diving into their pain, diving into their why. Right. And there's a reason why someone is taking time out of their day to speak to you about your service or product, whatever it might be. So you need to have a deep understanding of why they're there. They're spending an hour, they agreed to spend an hour with you and to answer questions and to go through your funnel and to listen to you speak on YouTube, whatever it is beforehand. So there's a reason they're hurting. There's a reason why they're talking to you. So you need to get a deep understanding of why that is. That's the purpose of this. From there, you want to go into their current situation so you get a better understanding of what they currently have going on. See if it's working for them. See if they enjoy it. 9 times out of 10, they're not going to be enjoying it. And this is something you need to have them mention to you so that they understand how dire their situation actually is. Or if it's not dire, then you need to tell them, actually, you're actually fine. There's no reason for you to be looking for help. I recommend you doing X, Y, Z or checking this thing out. And then you just get off the call and you're able to save yourself time and the headache of trying to close someone who doesn't actually really have pain, right? So you dive into the current situation. Then from there, you're going to see how long they've been trying to get out of the situation or how long they've been trying to solve it. And this gives you the ammunition you would need in order to push them to make a decision if it's good for them. And it also makes them say it out loud, what's going to trigger their consistency bias. So if someone says, like, yeah, I've been trying for the past 3 years to, build a business, and and then you ask them, like, why hasn't it worked? And then they tell you, I haven't been taking this serious enough, or I've been procrastinating. And then you say, okay, what's different the past 3 years, or why is different from the past 3 years? And then they'll be saying to you, like, yes, it is. So now once they say that, they have a consistency bias that they actually have to make a decision or make a change, or a pattern interrupt from what they've been doing for the past 3 years, inshallah. Then from there, you can check that off, and then you ask what they've tried so far. Gives you a deeper understanding of how serious they are, right? What they've tried and why it hasn't worked. It's also going to allow you to highlight any differences in your product or your service that might be better suited for their situation, right? So if they tell you, yeah, I've tried 3 other courses and I just felt like the reason why I didn't succeed was because they didn't have mentorship or they weren't always there to help me, then if your program has mentorship and you know you're going to be there to help them, then you make sure you highlight that when you go into the pitch, right? Because that's going to be solving one of their main pain points, inshallah. So you ask what they've tried so far. It's going to give you some more clarity, and it will allow you to avoid people who have that grass is greener disease. Sometimes you get people who get on calls and they just think that your solution is going to be easier than something they're already in the middle of. And 9 times out of 10, that's not the case. So you just have to tell them to go back and stay consistent with what they already have. Because if they come into the program with you, they're going to come in, cause you more headache, potentially ask for refunds, and then you know that they actually didn't need your service. So selling to them is going to be dishonest. So you got to push them away, inshallah. So once you check that off, you want to get an understanding of what their goal is. This is going to give you an idea of where their mind is, how ambitious they are, and let you determine if your product or service would be suited for the goals that they have. So, for example, if you're teaching someone how to set up a coffee shop in the UK, right, but their main goal is hijrah, this might not be the best business model for them because they're going to have to spend the next 2 years in place in a coffee shop in the UK, right? So you want to make sure you understand their goals, you understand how much money they're trying to make, or you understand, whatever result they're trying to get in XYZ time frame, and then you want to reference what your program does and the timeline your program has to see if it's going to be a good fit for them, inshallah, right? And then from there, you want to double down and see what made them feel like now was the right time to reach out. This kind of circles back to the same question you would ask when you're diving into their current situation as well, which is why these different checkboxes are, it can be rearranged. And sometimes you'll check these boxes off. It's not going to be in order as well, right? But you want to make sure you or see why they felt like now was a good time for them to reach out, right? And this allows you to determine if they are just shopping around, right? If they are actually ready to make a change, and it gets them to express that out loud, which again will trigger their consistency bias, inshallah. And you actually have an opportunity here to state your expectation of them making a decision on the call with you. So you could say, okay, the reason why I'm asking this question is because the purpose of this call is for you to actually make a change and for us to come up with the solution to your issue. So do you feel like now is the time for you to actually do that? Like, what made you feel like now was the right time to reach out? No. So it teaches them how to think again, and it gives you an opening to set the expectation of them getting started, right? So you check that off, inshallah. Then the other thing that I wanted to highlight was you want to get an understanding of where they are compared to where they want to be. So, for example, this a really easy example of this is, let's say somebody's trying to make 10K per month, and right now they're currently making 2K, right? So you ask them, okay, so you told me that your goal is 10K per month. Where are you right now? And now you're gonna be able to allow them to visualize the gap between where they are and where they want to get, and it's going to allow you to position your solution in between, right, as the bridge to that gap. That's the purpose of this right here, this question right here. And then if all of the things check off, right, if you feel like you can actually help this person, then you're going to go to these next steps, right? And this is something that is very important that changed, that made a big change in our closing percentage, in our comfortability on the call. And it changes the way that we actually approach the finances when we're speaking with someone, right? So this point right here is you're going to be asking them if they're really ready to change, right? And if they are, you're going to frame whatever sacrifice they have to make as what is required to get in between that 2K to that 10K, or to get between living where they are right now and making hijrah, whatever it might be, right? So you're going to ask them if they have the time, and if they have the money in order to actually reach the goals that they're trying to reach right now. For example, you would say something like, okay, Akhi, is this something that you're really serious about? Because there's two things you have to actually consider before you even jump into building a business like this. And the two things is, one, you have to consider the amount of time and effort you're going to have to put towards this, which is at least 6 months of consistency and at least spending an hour to 2 hours per day. And the other thing you have to consider is the money, the investment that you're going to have to make to build something like this, which is 5,000 USD to build this business as well. So with everything else that you have going on, does this even make sense for you to invest in or to put money towards right now? So you position it where you're not asking them to pay you, but you're asking them if it makes sense for them with the position that they're in right now and with all the pain and the goals that they have, inshallah, right? And I love this frame because, like I said, it puts you on their side, and it actually shows you as someone who's being considerate of their time and their pockets. Now, so then you check that off, and then you might have to handle some objections here. They might say they don't have the amount of money, or they might not have the time, and you might be in a situation where you have to, organize a payment plan, or you might have to reorganize the mentorship so it can accommodate their time schedule, or you may just send them away because they're just in a bad situation that it doesn't even make sense for them to invest into your program right now, right? Now, from there, if they're a good fit and you feel comfortable offering them a spot or selling them your product, you ask if you can show them exactly how you can help. And the way that you're going to frame this is, okay, actually, for me, you're checking off all the boxes that I was looking for before. So I actually feel comfortable offering you a position inside of our program. Would it be fine if I go through everything and kind of show you how we can help? Right? So that's how you position it. And then if they're not a good fit, then you actually give them something of value, or you point them in a different direction. You give them some resources, and then you let them know that you're going to be in touch and that it's okay for them to reach out as well. And this keeps them expecting for your follow ups, and it lets you retarget them later on down the line. So it keeps them in your funnel, inshallah. Well, this is like a basic overview of the mental frameworks that we have and of the basic sales process or the boxes that I know I have to check off before someone is going to be in the right position to buy. And the whole entire goal of this is to every question you're asking is to address any objection that could come up before you start talking about getting started, inshallah. Right? So there's much more to speak about. There's more questions that I don't even have written here that you can, like more example questions that I'm going to be sharing, inshallah. And this is only the discovery part or the question part of the sales process. I didn't even speak about how to position and situate the actual pitch or when you're speaking about how you're going to help them, which is going to come in a later video, inshallah. But I just wanted to give you this, and hopefully, this is something you can actually adapt and start making more money immediately within your product, service, or whatever it is that you're selling, inshallah. And then also, as always, I want to shout out our actual personal service and consultation, where if you have a business and you're Muslim and you're at least making, ten to $15,000 per year with your business and your product, and you have some testimonials, we may be in a position to help you with these sales frameworks and with these systems and processes you can put in place so you can increase the revenue, right? So you can increase the closing rate for your team. And we may even be in a position where we can place someone in your business for you, inshallah, be that a closer or someone to help you with the sales process, whatever it might be, inshallah. But if that sounds like you, we have a link in the description below. You can book a call there. And if we think we can help you, we'll organize you or we'll send you a Zoom link. If not, we'll try to just point you in the right direction, inshallah. Other than that, if you want to just, learn about more process and get more sauce or get more information, inshallah, or if this was valuable, then just, like this, share it, and subscribe, bi'idhnillah. And we'll be coming back with more. Barakallahu feek. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.